Hey everyone, so I want to talk a little bit more about Penguin because this show is really, really awesome and I've been enjoying it a lot. I watched the first two episodes and this is a spoiler discussion. So if you have seen the show, please look away. If you haven't seen the show, let's talk about it. Let's because there's a lot to discuss here. So the Penguin starts a week after the Batman finished, which then we found out the Riddler caused all sorts of damage and with the flooding, and there was a lot of areas now in Gotham that are completely devastated. There with the flooding, with now the crime is rising up. There's a lot more opportunity for the crime lords to take over the areas, take over more territory. Now there is a fight happening too with those crime lords. We see Oz going back into the Iceberg Lounge where he meets Falcon's son, Alberto, and they have a slight little disagreement. Oz shoots him, and Oz now has a dilemma on his back. So, how does he get out of it? In this show, Oz is a spectacular master manipulator. He is able to get out everything. He knows how to gauge the personalities and what he can lie to them, what he cannot lie to them, how to implement the different ways of truth and in order to get a target off his back. We also meet Victor, who him and his friends are trying to rob Oz's Maserati purple car. Actually, it's Plum. And Oz ends up seeing something in him. I think because Victor has a stutter and there's a little bit of disability there, together with Oz's leg that connects them with their characters together. Um, we get introduced to a little bit of Oz's family. We don't know what happened to his brothers. We don't know what happened to his dad. We know that his dad so far was probably a little bit more brutal. So we'll probably find out a little bit more of a backstory. Also in episode one, we get introduced to Sophia, my favorite character. She is so awesome. She's calculated. She's ruthless. She's brutal. She is not to be messed with. She is also, come to find out, by definition a serial killer that murdered more than seven people or seven women, as far as I heard when she was on the radio in the limo in the episode two. In the episode one, we start seeing Oz is putting things in motion where he is. Hey everyone, so we're going to talk about Penguin. This is episode 1 and 2 before the new episode premieres tonight. I have a couple more hours for me over here before episode 3 comes out, so I figured let's go touch base on episode 1 and 2. So this is a spoiler in case you haven't watched it. In case you have watched it, let's talk about it. So look away. All right. So episode one starts a week after the events of Batman, where Riddler has caused a massive damage with the flooding and all the grenades and bombs that he's detonated around the city, and so now we see Gotham in a peril. There's a lot of crime rising up, 48%, I think they said, increase of the crime. There is now the warlords and then the crime lords are trying to seize Gotham's areas and seize Gotham's this opportunity to control Gotham even more. We see Oz. He goes back to Iceberg Lounge where he meets Alberto, Falcon's son, who ends up now having a little bit more of a harder task trying to deal with how is he going to be the new crime lord. But Oz and him have a disagreement. Oz shoots him, and now Oz is in a peril. So as he's leaving the Iceberg Lounge, he meets Victor and his friends who are trying to steal the rims off his plum Maserati, not purple, and he ends up sparing Victor's life when he could have easily killed him. And what happens is he sees something in Victor that maybe he didn't see in anybody else. Victor does have a stutter, and Victor does come from that beginning of trying to just to survive, trying to do whatever he can. We don't know much about Victor, so he could be a double agent. He could be somebody that's going to be having a full-on plot twist later on. We don't know, or he just could be a kid that's lost, that's looking for a guidance in Oz, and then Oz might shape him into something that Victor never thought he was going to be, or Victor might betray Oz. So we don't know. There's a lot of room left for Victor's arc to go a few different directions actually. So through this episode, we meet Sophia, who was in Arkham, and then she gets released. So we don't know if she got released on good behavior. We don't know if the strings got pulled if she got released, but she is out. So she goes, now she's on a hunt who killed her brother. Her brother and her were very close. Which we see a little bit more in the episode 2 when she was at the therapist. But we also see that she's very calculated. She's ruthless. She's brutal. She keeps the cards to herself. You don't know what she's thinking. You don't know what she's going to do, and you don't know what she knows. She does not let anybody in, and there is quite a few dialogues that happen through her scenes that we see just how much she's observant and what she like she's like a ticking time bomb just waiting to snap. And then we also get to meet Oz's mom, who we don't get to find out what happens to Oz's brothers, who are dead, and we also don't get to really find out yet, at least, what happened to Oz's dad. So far that we know, Oz's dad was probably a little bit ruthless, a little bit brutal, and because there is a little bit of dialogue that happened between him and his mom where she said, "Oh, just like your dad, but he was tough." So this whole episode is kind of putting Oz's plan in motion, and so he ends up involving Maroni's family, giving them the ring that he took off after Alberto's hand when he killed him, and we also now that's setting up Maroni's family against Falcone's family. We get to see a little bit more of Falcone's family, the inner circle, and we also get to see who is head in charge. And so far, it's been Luca who is calling the shots, who we meet in the episode 2. In the episode 1, Oz is able to kind of take a little bit of heat off his back because Sophia was on him. Sophia was 100% convinced that it was Oz, and she almost had him. She almost had him until Victor came to the rescue at the end of the episode. And if you haven't watched the show, watch it. You'll see what he did. Slushies were very prominent in this episode. Slushies are great. And we also get to see Oz's personality. He's very calculated, very manipulative. He knows he's also a gangster. He wants to be a kingpin. He wants that. He wants what belongs to him, and he wants to rise to the top where he can go ahead and call the shots because he knows he can handle it. So he is willing to do whatever it takes. So we don't know what's going to happen with his mom. Is she's going to be a crutch for him later on down the series? She's going to be used as a leverage. If he's going to have to make an unfortunate, difficult decision because she is the only kind of thing that's holding him back as far as that's his weak spot. So we get to see that he has allies all over the city. But there's one thing that really stood prominent when he was talking about the gangster to Alberto, how this gangster knew everybody's names, knew everybody in his neighborhood because that's who Oz is. Oz knows everything. Oz is aware of everything. He knows everybody's names. He knows, just like when he, for example, met Victor, he looked up his card and he said, okay, well, now I know where you live. Now I know who you are. So everything that you think you are now belongs to me. So you can work for me, or this can go the other way. So what is your choice? And obviously Victor chose to work for him but also I think that was also a test for Victor because Oz wanted to see if this is maybe somebody that he can mold into trusting him because he cannot trust anybody. So he needs somebody brand new that's more innocent that he can mold into, that's developed that trust, because that is the place where that trust develops for us. Because if he has somebody that's already knows him, he knows that could be possibly getting leaked out. In this episode, we get to see a little bit more how the operations work. We find out that majority of the drugs that were coming in got flooded away. And I like how he said, originally they said, oh yeah, we lost about, we only survived, about 30%. But when he goes to meet Falcones and Vettis and those guys, he says, oh yeah, we have about 70% recovered. So he's always thinking ahead. He's always planning ahead, because that's what he needs to do in order to get from that point A to the point Z. In the towards the end of the episode one, we find out that Sophia was on his tail, that almost caught him. But like I said, watch it, see what Johnny did, and then we continue on the episode two. We found out a little bit more about Sophia when she was in the Arkham. She's seeing a therapist, and that therapist was a little bit sketchy, to be very honest with you, because we don't know also who is corruptible, who is evil, just using their positions of power to um, do whatever damage they want. We found out that there are still cops still working for Falcone's family, and Sophia was able to get a private detective and find out a little bit more information, and which later on comes out where she captures a member of Maroni's family. Maroni's family, Salvatore Maroni, is currently in jail and is holding Alberto's ring that Oz gave him when he went to visit him, which puts a target now on Maroni's back. But I think Maroni knows that that ring is going to come into play for them more than Oz is able to. But they also don't know what Oz is capable of. We found out also that his mom has a dementia, and it's getting worse, and so he wants to make her proud. He wants her to be proud of him, and she wants him to do well, and also she wants to feel proud of him too. And so we see that he has a weak spot for her, and that they are very close to each other. We see a little bit more emotions on as far as what Sophia is doing. She's taking a little bit matters into her own hands. She's starting to make moves. She's starting to get more information. She's starting to get people organized. And then I like how in the funeral for the episode two, Oz is able to go ahead, and he almost met Luca and outside, and give him photos of Johnny, and to show that he was sleeping with his wife, and but he didn't, but that's such a nice little detail, because every opportunity counts for him. Every second that he gets to make a move, he will. Every moment that he can go ahead, change a trajectory towards his benefit, he will take it. So it is such a great detail to his character. But also, one of the things is that Colin Farrell, my goodness, in the Batman, he was great. The chase scene in the Batman was absolutely cinema top notch. This is much more elevated. This is much more. This is such a better view into his psyche, into his personality, into his capabilities of what he can do, what he's capable of doing, and everything that he will do in order to get to the top. As far as I know, and I read an interview with Matt Reeves, this is going to be his path to becoming that kingpin, becoming that crime lord. So hopefully, we're going to see a little bit more information about his family, his past, his what happened to his leg. And also, I like how everybody. I don't like it, but I like how everybody's treating him as this pawn, but nobody's paying attention what he's really, really capable of, and he's using that as an advantage. That's his advantage standpoint. Nobody is aware just how smart, how calculated, how well trained he is, at reading people. He is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to brutality. He is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to leading people. But he also does something that I notice is he is asking questions everybody he's talking to, and he is looking for those weak spots. For example, one of the things that was really, really interesting was Castillo in the episode 2. Castillo was going to go ahead and kill him, and he said no hard feelings when he set up that whole murder scene down a highway where the drugs got taken. And so he then later on at the end sets up the Castillo after he kills the witness in the basement. And then poor Castillo, he had it coming, he just didn't know about it. So not to mess with Oz. I don't know what they're going to do with the episode 3. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm pretty sure this is going to start and unravel even more. As far as I know, this is leading into Batman 2. This is leading more, but as far as I know, this is not going to be He's not going to be a central figure as far as the villain on the Batman, but he is going to be prominent in the second movie. Sophia is absolutely my favorite. Like I said, she is beautifully done. It's based on Hangman from the DC Comics, the character, and we find out that she is possibly a serial killer. She has killed more than so far 7 people, maybe more. We're gonna find out from the trailers. I understood we're gonna find out more from her time in Arkham, what happened there, what went down there, and so it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. This is absolutely great show. I cannot wait to see the rest, and I will see you guys at the episode 3. Thank you for tuning in.